The UTMSU organized this event to provide students with the chance to meet their mayoral candidates, learn about their platforms, and ask pressing questions about the policies of the mayor candidates. At the end of this event, it is our hope that you would have gained enough knowledge to learn about each of the mayor candidates and make informed decisions at the polling stations on October 24th. Voting in the municipal elections gives you the power to make decisions on the quality of life you want for yourself, for your family, and for your community. The smaller pool of voters in the municipal elections means that every single vote is more statistically meaningful. We would like to acknowledge the people who cannot vote in the municipal elections, such as international students like myself and non-citizens of Canada. These demographics are still affected by the policies put forward by decision makers, but are unable to express their voice in the polling stations. So to all of us in the room, and mainly the candidates standing behind me, we ask you to keep this in mind today and throughout your time in politics. Today we have in attendance Bonnie Crombie, George Tavares, and David Shaw. We will start with the introductions of each mayor candidate. Each mayor candidate will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves and their platforms. After that, we will move to the question period. The UTMSU collected questions from students prior to tonight, and those given priority in question, and those will be given priority in the question period. With that said, if you do not get a chance to submit your questions before, there are QR codes on each table, so you can pick up the QR code, scan, and submit a question. Candidates will have 2 minutes to answer the questions with no chance of rebuttal. Due to time limitations, we cannot promise that we'll get all questions asked, but we'll have a mix and mingle after the question period for students to meet candidates. Before the mix and mingle session begins, we will allow our candidates to also have closing remarks. Like the introduction, your closing remarks must be a maximum of 3 minutes. We will be timing candidates to not exceed the time limits. And I apologize in advance, but I will cut you off politely. Lastly, I'd like to remind you all to remain respectful and to follow the principles of equity and fairness. We will not tolerate any sort of harassment, discrimination, and general disrespect. With that said, I'd like to pass it on to the VP Equity, Reagan, for our land acknowledgement and equity statement. Thank you.
Hello, hi everyone. Thank you all for coming out on a rainy Wednesday day. We wanted to start off by acknowledging the land at which we're on. It's the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. And as settlers here today, we have a very special mission to make sure that we not only uphold equity, but also constantly engage in acts of decolonization as we proceed with this mayoral debate. We're currently engaging in a political process that is not native to the land that we're on, and as a result, it's up to us to make sure that we move forward with Indigenous voices in mind. So with that being said, I hope we all take these principles with us throughout this event and moving forward into our lives. And I will pass it back to Alistair.
Thank you, Reagan. We will now have the mayor candidates present their platforms and introduce themselves. You have 3 minutes, and we'll have a timekeeper let you know when your time is up. Suraka will show a 1 minute mark and a 30-second mark. So we will begin with David Shaw, George Tavares, and we'll have Bonnie Cromley for last. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Shaw, and I would like to thank you for inviting me to your question and answer session for the mayoral candidates. As a resident of Mississauga for 54 years, I'm an adoptive father, a volunteer, and a passionate Canadian. I am running for mayor because I would like to put the voice of the people back in the mayor's office, because I feel we are lacking that from our mayor currently. As a candidate for mayor, I am running on a platform unlike any of the other candidates. I am running on a platform of ending all mandates and lockdowns and guaranteeing the freedom of the people of the city to make their own choices about their own health decisions. Currently, 2 federal parties, the CPC and the PPC, already announced that they would end mandates if they were to get elected. This is the stance of those parties that reflects the voice of many Canadians, and that is where I choose to stand, in support of freedom. Some federal and provincial parties still cannot make the promise of honoring people's constitutional rights. None of the other candidates are speaking about all the mandates that have happened in the past 2.5 years as if none of this has happened. People lost their jobs. Children's education was negatively impacted, and most importantly, people were coerced into taking a treatment that was not properly tested. This was simply wrong, and I am fighting against that. Another one of my platform issues is a 0% property tax increase, because the people of Mississauga need a break from increased costs of everyday necessities that was caused by inflation, which was in turn caused in part by failed policies. I will look into all wasteful spending by the city, and there is certainly some, and work to eliminate it. And this is how I will be able to allow a 0% property tax increase without loss of services or without loss of city jobs. Another platform issue is affordable housing. Our city used to get 25% of affordable housing in new builds. Currently, that figure is 10%, and we need to bring that back to 25% because we need the affordable housing, and so many people are sadly not able to live properly without this housing. There are many in need in the city. I thank you for your time, and I thank you for listening to my platform.
Thank you, David. We will now have George Tavares.
Oh, good afternoon, everybody. My name is George Tavares, and if I've been doing my campaigning properly, you should know that. And if I haven't done it properly, please visit tavaresformayor.ca. Okay, so unlike the other candidates, I bring an additional set of skills to the mayor's office. I view problems and solutions not just from a financial perspective, but from a technological one. So I've been mentored by some of the most interesting and intelligent business minds throughout the GTA. Through my international travels, my understanding of technology and how to correct problems using that technology has been my biggest asset. So getting Mississauga moving again is a top priority, and using technology we can develop a strategy to move people in and out of Mississauga properly. Be it on foot, bike, train, bus, we need better movement options. So we need to work collectively with drivers, and I think training for both drivers, operators of buses, and of course people on bikes. It's important that we do some training. And transportation should be affordable, and I have a plan for that too. So I've watched Mississauga grow, and I've enjoyed it. However, the City of Mississauga is now entering a new era, one that must rely on people, not development. So I've heard a lot of people use the term walkability, and how Mississauga lacks it. And I've spent a lot of months in European cities, and by comparison, I think they might have a point. Excuse me. New and established developments must have, this thing is driving me nuts. New and established developments must have that have been designed as car-centric and car-dependent will need to be reevaluated, and they will need to include opportunities to work, play, learn, and of course, shop. 1 minute. Affordable living that includes apartment rentals and for students and new home buyers for the missing middle must be addressed better. All building sites should be part of the exclusionary zone, or inclusionary zone, I'm sorry, and not just the ones designated along the bus routes. So I've worked around the world rebuilding companies from the people up. Rebuilding the culture of Mississauga is no different. I thank Bonnie Crombie and Hazel McCallion. Those are the only two mayors that I know of that helped build Mississauga. And if I do get this job, I hope to continue to build Mississauga for a stronger future for you guys and for myself. So thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bonnie Crombie, and I'm the mayor of the great city of Mississauga and have done so for the past 8 years. Prior to that, I was a city councillor. And prior to that, I was a member of parliament. And going back even further in my resume, I was a business person, and I've worked for companies like McDonald's Corporation and the Walt Disney Company, Insurance Bureau of Canada, and started my own company called Cargo Cosmetics with a couple of partners. So I have a long, extensive career in business as well. I have an MBA and a director's degree. I just wanted to say what an honor and pleasure it has been to be mayor, but also I thought I'd share with you that I'm U of T alumni, and I'm very proud of that as well. And I want to say that I was the champion for the UPass, because when I joined City Council, we were debating whether this was necessary, and I said, of course it is, and we need to introduce that UPass for these students, and now we're renegotiating it, and I'm sure it'll go forward at a very, very affordable rate. I think that I have provided strong and steady leadership. I have been the 4th mayor of the city of Mississauga, myself and Hazel, and prior to me, to the two of us, was Ron Searle and Martin Dobkins. So there have been only 4 mayors in almost 50 years in our history. My goal for our city is to create a livable, walkable city, to create affordable housing, to create sustainable housing and a sustainable development in our complete communities. That's my goal, because when I moved here, a long time ago, you had to get in your car to go everywhere. And so this is what we're trying to change in all the new developments that are being built, whether it's in the downtown or at the waterfront. And as you can see, the waterfront is very vibrant and there's new developments. We're ensuring that there's affordable housing being built, and we're ensuring that transit be built at the same time, because of course you need to do both of them at the same time. And I think that's what was lacking in the past. So we're investing in public transit. Oh, 1 minute, oh gosh. We are building light rail transit. We are building bus rapid transit along Dundas to help you get here from the Kipling subway as well, and along the Lakeshore as well. Mississauga is one of the most vibrant, dynamic, but inclusive cities in all of Canada, and I want to assure that it will stay that way. And I want to ensure that absolutely everybody has the same equal opportunity to succeed. Now, we are also an innovation hub, and we are a talent pipeline because of you. Because of UTM, which we are so proud of, because of Sheridan College, Trios, Mohawk. Oh, I'm wrapping up, yep. And my job is to attract business investment here so that after your training, you have a place to work. I want to keep you here. I want you to live, work, and invest here. So that's why we're trying to make housing more affordable and create jobs for you. So after your training, you can be employed and be one of the 500,000 individuals that work right here in our great city. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David Shaw, John Tavares, and Bonnie Crombie. We will now be moving into the question and answer period. So if you do have any questions, please remember to scan the QR code and to submit your questions. I will begin with the first question. So, mayor candidates, you have 2 minutes for the questions. The first question says, students often rent off campus, and renting prices are very unaffordable. Do you have any plans for affordable housing for students? So we will begin with George Tavares, who will go Bonnie Crombie, and David Shaw.
Okay, affordable housing for students. We have seen this, and I have 2 ideas. One of them is to subsidize the housing is one of them. I know that Bonnie mentioned earlier about an initiative that she put together, so I don't have to do that. Thanks, Bonnie. The other one is I'd like to actually have it set up so that if anyone, not just student related, but if anyone riding a bike or using a bike, this is an option for some other people. Anybody using a bike or riding a bike at any point in time, it's free, so that's regardless of the riding a bike, and using public transit, it would be free. So ultimately, in order for you to get from point A to point B, it's a little cheaper. Because if you're a student and you're working at night, you can take the bike to the bus stop, from the bus stop, put your bike on the rack, off you go. When you get to the location, get your bike and go to work, and ride your bike to work. Now the reason this is important is it gives us 2 opportunities. One of them is it gives an opportunity to save some money. The second opportunity is that now we can get more people on the roads using their bikes safely. And then we can identify where we need most of our bike lanes. So if we can say that number 10 bus route is the most, used with a bike, we then put bike lanes there. Or if we say number 1 is the most used with bikes, we can use that. I'm not sure if I'm explaining it properly, but I think those are my 2 ideas in order to make it more affordable. How's that? We're okay? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So this is one of the greatest concerns I have as mayor, and as do all the mayors right across Ontario. I am the vice chair of the Ontario Big City Mayors, and we're all extremely concerned about the affordability crisis as it pertains to lifestyle, but also to housing. And I know the Premier is concerned about the supply of housing, but my mission is to make it affordable for everyone, particularly the middle class. Now, with respect to students, I know you at UTM, we have been working very closely with them so that they continue to renovate the housing stock that is here, and they build more housing. Because unfortunately, there is a lot of encroachment into the neighborhoods, and rooming houses have popped up, and unfortunately, those are not allowed. But we are exploring a lot of options for students so that housing can be made more affordable. And we are doing that by protecting the rental stock that exists and incentivizing more purpose-built rental right across the city. And you can see our plans for that right across the city. We were the first city to permit secondary units, secondary suites, which are better known as basement apartments. We have also are providing grants for any eligible development in affordable rental. And there is a Peel Home Share Plan, which is really exceptional idea that matches older adults who are, we like to say, overhoused, living in large 4-bedroom homes with empty nesters, so their children have gone, and they're living there with students who need more affordable housing. So these programs are available, and we're always coming up with ways to incentivize the development community for more inclusionary zoning, to percentage of inclusionary zoning in every new development, so that all new builds will be affordable for everyone. Thank you.
The affordable housing for students, my plan is we need to get a hold of the provincial governments and federal governments. They need to start funding this. We need to, within the city, create a system where students can register with us for assisted funding to pay for rents, so things are easier for you. So presently, our provincial government had $500 million to give to the Toronto Star to create a gambling site. Some of that certainly could have been directed towards our city to help us help you subsidize your rents when you live off-site. Same with the federal government, who's sending hundreds and millions and billions of dollars out of the country. I think we need to approach them and have them bring this money back to us, to help you. We really need to help you because housing has become unaffordable and we need our governments to help Canadians, and that's what I would like to do.
Thank you for your answers. Our second question has to do with transport. Here at UTM, we have the My Way U Pass that allows students to ride My Way buses for free, but we still see issues on busing times and lack of capacity. What's your plan for the transit system to connect our campus to the rest of the city? Yeah, we can. When you can go, then we can have David and
So I ran on a platform of moving Mississauga forward both the first and second time I ran and this time as well. As I mentioned earlier, as we're building in the new developments into Mississauga, whether they're in the downtown core, because of course you know we're intensifying, or in the south where we have reclaimed brownfield, the power plant or the oil refinery, and we're building new housing, mixed-use housing into sustainable communities, state-of-the-art, innovative communities. It's so important to build in the transit at the same time. So you know that we're building light rail transit, north-south on here, Ontario, 18 kilometers, 19 stops. We're still advocating for a loop in the downtown. We have been approved for bus rapid transit along Dundas. We'll connect to the Kipling subway station, come all the way here to UTM, and that's great news. And then again on Lakeshore, so that's very good news for us. And we continue to advocate for more GO train service on the Milton line, all-day two-way service, which they tell me is coming soon, so I'm very hopeful. But we invest our gas tax money that we receive each year back into transit, and that's so important so that I can continue to add service and add bus routes. Now during COVID, because of the deficit we faced as a direct result of COVID, we did cut less popular routes. They are back in service. What we've done for our students is try to provide you with express routes to get here. And we continue to look for ways that we can assist students to get to school and provide better service, not only for our students, our seniors, and our essential workers that have to get to work. So we do make transit a priority, and we do continue to enhance My Way service and bus service in Mississauga. Thanks very much.
Mississauga Transit, we do need more buses and we do need more drivers and we need more routes. But what we need is hiring practice. We must remove restrictions that are curtailing our hiring of bus drivers. We have restrictions of vaccination policies right now where you can't get hired if you're not up to date. And I feel that is wrong and restrictive and is hurting our bus system. And that must be removed, and at which point we can have enough bus drivers because a lot of routes have been canceled. This is what I'm getting from the people, and the people want bus drivers hired because we need to have the system up and fully running so we can serve the community better. Thank you.
Okay, so no small surprise, I'm not a big fan of the LRT if you've actually looked at my website. But it's not the LRT. I think the design is a little wrong. I think if we had moved all of it over to one side, either the east or the west side, we could have put in some bike lanes, we could have had some proper barriers, and then we could have maintained them properly so that we wouldn't, this is even worse. And then we could maintain the bike lanes so that you can use them throughout the seasons. So that's one of the problems. So let's get back to the bus routes and the timing. This is kind of my specialty. Historically, in different locations, we've had buses move people from point A to point B for production, and in order to do it properly, we had to go backwards. So what wound up happening is we had buses that would come in, they would drop the people off at 9, but their time to start was like 9:05, so they only had 5 minutes to get ready. So I timed the buses to go backwards a little bit, so they were, oh, that's a minute early. We timed it better so that the buses would arrive at the location 15 to 20 minutes beforehand, and that gave everybody enough time to kind of get there. So that's one of them. The other thing is we need to use technology in order to time the lights better. So if we use transponder technology and we use some software and some clever programming, we could move the transit a lot quicker. It becomes a priority, so not necessarily a bus route or BLRT, but something similar. And it'll work quite well because it'll give the buses a priority to drop people off, pick people up, and then start moving. And it starts to work cohesively with traffic. So it starts to identify that traffic is a little bit slower or a little bit faster. It starts to time the lights better. So that should help alleviate some of the problems. But there is a problem with hiring. We need more buses. We need more bus drivers, and that's always a problem. So we're good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, George. Our next question is about sustainability, and it says, how can we make Mississauga more green? We will have David, have George, and Bonnie.
How can we make Mississauga more green? Well, I have issues with the climate change myself, and I think some of this is unnecessary at this time. I have a different view on the Paris Climate Accord, and I think it's a system that takes money from us and sends it out of the country. And I'm somewhat against the green climate change because if you go all electric and you have a power outage, nobody will be able to get around if you remove oil and gas and any other ways of travel. I think we're painting ourselves into a box where if something catastrophic happens around the world, we're in trouble, and we need to keep fossil fuels. They're not fossil fuels. We need to keep oil and gas. It's been sustainable. It's kept us sustainable for years, and it's very important. Certain things we can do. I like the electric vehicles, but the cost of batteries are not good on here. That's my stance on the green energy. It needs to be looked at a little more closely and do what's right for the environment without hurting our ability to get around if certain things happen in the world. Thank you.
Okay, sustainability. I just wrote down a few things here. One of the big mistakes that we made, and that was our buses are mixed, diesel and, if I'm not mistaken, all right, another one. But it's, it's ultimately diesel. We had an opportunity to use electric vehicles. They claimed that there was a problem with the charging stations, but I think that, again, technology, right? We could have corrected that using a different type of technology or a different type of charging station. So I think that's one of the big ones, is that we need to move our buses from diesel or mixed diesel and something else to full-on electric. The other thing is we need to improve our bike lanes. If we really want to make ourselves move from one spot to another, we want sustainability, we want to take care of our environment, we need bike lanes. We need bike lanes to start and stop where we want them to go, and not just start and stop arbitrarily. I've seen that happen. It's kind of fun and dangerous at the same time, so good a minute. So I'd prefer to avoid that. So again, in order to do that, we need raw data. In order to get raw data, we need more people on bikes, and people say, I can't ride a bike because it's too dangerous on the street, and then it's kind of, circling the drain. It doesn't really help. So that's why I came up with this idea with the bus routes being free for anybody on a bike. Those are the two ideas. I'd like to have more charging stations available throughout Mississauga with decent Wi-Fi at each one of those things, so at least you can watch a movie while the stuff is getting charged, and I'm just killing time for the 30 seconds. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple of things that my colleagues have said. David's idea of syncing the lights so that we can give priority to transit, we do it. It's called Advanced Traffic Management System. We're in the process of hooking up all the intersections, but there are over 400 of them, so there are many, many more to go. And with respect to transit, I'm using up my time. Routes were canceled during COVID, but of course they're reinstated now, and we continue to invest in transit, and that is absolutely a priority. And of course, I think that climate change is one of the key and critical issues for our generation, and we all need to work together to reduce our carbon footprint. And yes, we have a master plan, and yes, this city will have zero emissions by 2050, if not sooner. And it takes all of us to work together. And I'm also very proud that right here at UTM, you can get a Master's of Science in Sustainability. And I think that is really key, and there are a lot of people choosing this school because of that program. So we are trying to build in sustainability in everything we do, whether it's hydrogen fuel cell electronic buses. In the future, we have a pilot project with an organization called QTRIP. We're piloting 10 buses with FCEBs, hydrogen fuel cell electric buses. So that's very unique for us. Of course, we are investing in low impact development and planting 1 million trees. 30 seconds. And of course, we have a master cycling strategy to enhance our cycling routes, our cycling paths right across the city. You know what is interesting is that when we go in to build the bike lanes, that we do get resistance from some residents. And I remember taking some residents to task on Bristol because I was the city councillor there. And I said, look, I know it's going to take away a lane of parking because that's what they were concerned about. I said, y'all should clean out your garages so that we can have, you can park in your driveway or in your garage, and we can have bike lanes on your street and reduce the traffic and reduce the speeding. And let's try it. And after 1 year, if you don't like it, I'll grind it out. And no one's complained. They got used to it, and it's the right thing to do. And we're exploring first and last kilometer solutions like e-scooters, etc. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next question is related to international students. U of T is known to bring so many international students to the city of Mississauga and produces so many benefits. We want to ask, many international students come to UTM and find unsafe housing that they are not aware of housing laws. It's not only a fire hazard, but also an issue of exploitation from landlords to these students. What is the plan for international students and their irregular housing? So we can start with Bonnie, then we go with David and George Tavares.
Not hard. So the reality is many of our post-secondary institutions try to attract many international students. It gives us a lot of pride when they choose to come to our schools rather than others, and it's frankly lucrative for the university and for the institution that they choose, whether it be UTM, Sheridan College, Trios, Mohawk, which are some of the more prominent in our community. But yet housing is a challenge for everyone, not only international students, but for all of you as well. So I think you face some of the same challenges, although they may be doing it with more barriers, whether language barriers or just not knowing the environment, they not know the community as well as some of you. And so there's challenging not only to finding affordable housing, but integrating into the community and then selecting their pathway to the future, the jobs that are available. And we're working with the provincial government to allow those foreign students to stay here once they're trained here and to contribute back to the economy. But we need to provide more with respect to relevant mental health supports for them in various languages, because that's very critical as well. And set up a Center for International Experience which I think you have here, in fact. So these can provide the services to international students that they wouldn't otherwise have. And of course, we ask you to welcome them with open arms because they're obviously part of the UTM community here, and it makes us very proud that they've chosen us to come here to be trained. Thank you.
So the international students are always having a significant and difficult time to find housing. I know that. I lived in Toronto, and when I was studying psychology and philosophy in Toronto, I bumped into quite a few people that were from outside of town, outside of our country, and some of them lived in hammocks in these homes that you just referred to as, they weren't particularly acceptable, they were bad, they were ultimately closets that they were renting out for $200-300. And I always thought that was a bit strange and terrible that they were being exploited that way. I do believe it's important to have some community housing and development, specifically for people of different languages and different cultures. This is really important. I've recognized it, I've seen it. My parents, when they came in from Portugal once upon a time ago, they had a real hard time kind of fitting into our community. And if it wasn't for their cultural community, it would be very difficult, and they managed to adapt because of that. So I think it's really important for that. Housing, of course, is always going to be an issue. Affordable housing, I think it should be subsidized, and I think that's about it. Good? Thank you.
What I love about our international students is they come here for the freedoms that Canada has to offer. We're a beautiful country, and we welcome them, and I've met so many great people. Even just campaigning here. They can't vote, but they love our freedom, and their issue is housing mainly, and it gets back to affordable rentals and the amount of housing we have in this city that's affordable for them. And to create that, we need to eliminate the red tape that occurs when we want to create basement apartments and safe basement apartments. Sometimes that can take months, if not even longer, and we need to, again, create some more affordable housing. And we can do that through development with the new developers, new developments by developers, by increasing the affordable housing rate that we used to get in this city of 25%. It's now down to 10%. And we need to get that number back up, and that'll create more housing that'll be on the transit lines that are planned by the city, along Dundas, along Lakeshore, and up and down here, Ontario. And I think if we can build and get that percentage higher, we will have more affordable housing for our international students. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Candidates. We have our last question for tonight. It has to do with job employment for graduates. So about job security and employment opportunities in the city of Mississauga, what programs do you plan on implementing for graduating students looking to get hired after they're done with their degree? So we can have George go first, we can have Bonnie go second, and we can have David go last.
So, youth employment is really difficult. I know when I first got my very first job, I made $14.10, and I thought I owned the world and I was rich. Clearly that wasn't the case. So what I would have appreciated is if there was some sort of government subsidy in order to move me into a better job so that I could live a decent life or a better quality of living. So I'd like to push for something along those lines for graduates, and for undergrads, it's really important. It's really challenging because the budget is about this big for that sort of thing, but I think it's important that we at least identify that and make it happen. Good? Right? Okay.
Well, I can talk endlessly about jobs because I love investment. It's been one of my pride and joys as mayor to continue to attract investment in the city and create jobs. And even during COVID, while we were in lockdown, I still managed to attract 2,000 companies and create 13,500 jobs. And I say that very proudly because there are not a lot of cities that have that kind of incredible track record. And those are jobs for all of you, highly trained, highly skilled jobs, because that's what you're doing here. You are the pipeline. You are the talent pool that we draw on for jobs. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates we have seen right now. So the world is your oyster. I'm going to continue to bring jobs to our cities, to continue to give you those kinds of opportunities. And so you get your training here, and we are working with employers, honestly, to talk to them about the kind of talent, the kind of skill sets they need to ensure those are the kind of that is the kind of training that you are receiving, whether it's here at UTM, whether it's at Sheridan, Trios, Mohawk, very specialized, because you know and I know the skills that you require to go out into the workforce are needed to be more and more specialized each and every year. But we have IMI here, the Institute for Management and Innovation, and that makes me very proud. You have iCube here. We have so much going on. There's a Life Sciences Consortium. You have the Biotech program. Of course, we are a hub in life sciences here, hub in advanced manufacturing, hub in aerospace. We have such a diversified economy. That's why we were so resilient during COVID. And 30 seconds, okay. And as well, you have a new life sciences building, number of new life sciences programs and buildings right here. And we are a hub. We are the second largest employer in Canada in life sciences and biotech, pharma, etc. So those are the jobs of the future for you, unless you want to specialize in something like aerospace and advanced manufacturing. But ICT, we're also right down smack in the middle of the innovation corridor between Waterloo and Toronto, and I have pitched for those jobs and I have gotten them because we have the talent pool right here, highly trained, highly skilled people who speak multiple languages, and it helps that we're close to the airport. So I've secured a lot of investment as a result of that, and I thank all of you because you are going to be working in those companies I'm bringing here. Thank you.
For our graduating students, thank you. You are our future in this city, in Mississauga. You are the people we look forward to carrying on our great traditions within this city and carrying on the growth of this wonderful city I've lived in for so long. What we need to do is start connecting the city with the educational system, with our universities, and collectively get together and create a program where the job opportunities are listed, where you can see what's coming up, where you can direct your studies there, and we can connect the employers with you. And that's the best way to get out there. If we can do that as a city and work with you, the students, and the employers who are moving here and opening up their businesses, we can create job growth, and I think that's very important for you. And working with the businesses together with the city is very important. That will allow us to give you access to good paying jobs, good middle class jobs that you're here studying for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor candidates. You can now give your closing remarks. It will be 2 minutes. We will have Bonnie go first. We have David go second and George go last. So 2 minutes for your closing remarks. 3 minutes, sorry. 3 minutes.
Well, I can talk about the city endlessly, so first let me say what an honor and pleasure it has been to serve as mayor for 2 terms. And I hope that I have provided that strong, steady leadership, notwithstanding COVID, but specifically during COVID. And I have fought for our city, whether it was for our share of vaccine or for our share of investment that comes from federal and provincial dollars into our city. We have been very successful attracting government programs and government grants to help us build our transit infrastructure. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we are one of the most dynamic, bright, but inclusive cities in the entire country, not just in this province, and it makes me very proud, as I said when I started, to ensure that everybody has an equal opportunity to succeed. I want to fight climate change with you. I want to build an infrastructure we are proud of, which includes transportation and new sustainable developments that can help conquer climate change. I want to continue to attract jobs, and I want to continue supporting our post-secondary institutions, UTM, Sheridan College, and all the others, so that you do provide the training, you receive the training you need, so that you can get a job in one of those great companies that we're bringing here. We are building a city, but we're embracing new development, I would say programs, because you know that this city was built from farmland and fruit trees 50 years ago, in 1974. So we'll be celebrating our 50th year. And it was built on large 4-bedroom homes with wide boulevards that we know was a very inefficient way to build back then. We need more housing. So we have to stress the building of more affordable housing, not just more housing, but it has to be affordable. And that's what we're trying to do right across our city. I know one of our candidates suggested we go up with increase the amount of inclusionary zoning. Listen, this is the first time we've ever passed inclusionary zoning so that we have more affordability. We can only go up from here, but we're enforcing it. So whether we're down at the waterfront, the eyes of the world are looking at us. They're looking to see what we are doing on our waterfront, 22 kilometers, what used to be a power plant, what used to be an oil refinery, all mixed use. And that just, it's just so, it makes me so proud as the leader of this city that we have this pride and joy, this gem in our city. Plus, we continue to invest in those amenities that improve your quality of life. Our parks, our parkland, our community centers, our rinks, and our splash pads. One day you'll have children, you'll know how important those are for your lifestyle. But if I can be successful to continue to encourage in addressing climate change, building more public transit, and building more affordability in our housing, and continuing to attract investments so that you have jobs, I think I will have done a good job as the leader of the city and as your mayor. So I thank you for that opportunity. The only thing I want to say is please remember to vote on Monday. Our voting rate here in the city is extremely low. Less than 1 in 3 people vote. So look to your right, look to your left. Make sure they go out and vote as well as you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'd like to thank everybody for showing up and listening to us yabber on about politics and how important it is for you to come out and vote and at least to hear some of our platform ideas. So clearly the two most important ones are affordability as far as housing and transit. At least those are for me. I just want to point out it is important. Environment is very, very important. If you check my website out, I pointed out that I'm not a big fan of printing things. So I made a commitment to the universe, to God, or to myself, whichever one you want to choose, that for every 100 pounds of, for every 5 pounds of, for every 5 pounds of material that I print, I will collect 100 pounds of garbage. I'm now up to 210 pounds of garbage that I need to collect to pay off my debt to the universe. So that's what I've done to the universe, and I apologize if I've insulted it. But it is important that we go out and vote. It's important for you to look at the candidates and identify kind of what we're looking at, what we're planning on doing for the future. The future is yours. Again, I thank Bonnie and Hazel Battalion for putting together a fantastic city, but I think the city needs to change just a little bit. It needs more technology, and I am the technologist for that job. Thank you.
Again, I'm running on a different platform. The last 2.5 years of lockdowns, forced injections, with consequences if you didn't, like lost jobs, needs to end. We need to end these mandates. We need to take our freedoms back. Right now, the federal and provincial governments are saying they're going to bring them back unless people start taking these vaccines. And right now, nobody really wants to because 81% of Ontario has said no in the last 6 months. And now, according to the government, they are classified as unvaccinated. And that's the Ontario government's webpage. We need to stop it. We need to end it. They are unsafe and they are dangerous. And it's coming out over in the EU Parliament, where Pfizer has said that there's 0% chance that they tested them for getting the flu or the cold or COVID. And they're saying they never tested it for that. And this needs to be looked into, and that's why my platform says we're going to back off from the mandates and we will not force anybody to take anything, because their medical choice should be respected without punishment, as has happened to many people in this city who have lost jobs, lost their homes because of these mandates. And I think it's very important that we need to stand up against these mandates, because they've been injurious to our city. We've had some great growth, and Mayor Crombie, my apologies, Mayor, and Hazel McCallion have done a fantastic job with our city building it. And I've gone from living on Bloor Street, playing ball hockey there, taking my dog into the Mississauga Valleys when it was a field, and letting it chase the pheasants out of the bushes, to the 7th largest city in Canada. And it's wonderful to live here all my life. And I just think we need a change in direction as far as the health decisions. And when we're being told we could get locked down again, I have issue with that, and that's why I'm talking about the last 2.5 years that nobody else is. We need to get that straightened out. We need to understand that these vaccines are dangerous, and we need to look at that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor candidates. How's everyone feeling? Thumbs up. I think this has been a very insightful discussion. Learned so much about your policies concerning job creation, sustainability, transit, and housing. I'd like to start by thanking all of you for attending this event, and most importantly, the students. I'd like to appreciate your attendance in this event, because by being here, you're taking initiative and you're showing interest in the election process. I would also like to remind all of you to vote in the upcoming municipal elections. If you're Canadian and you're 18 years or older, you're eligible to vote. Please go out to the polls and make your voice heard. And once again, let's remember who cannot vote in the elections. As an international student as myself, and people within the school, there are several of us who cannot vote in the elections, but we're still impacted by the policies of the mayor. So I would like to end by saying that the student voices must be included in the decision-making process. Students are the future of Mississauga, and we bring so much to this community. So please let our voices be heard. Now, you're free to mix and mingle and to have some food. Thank you, everyone.